I got time, cuz. Today I got time, cuz. You lucky on that day I was acting cool, cuz.
Hey, y'all.
Nigga, what's up? How gangster are you, cuz?
Hey.
I don't fuck with you, cuz. You disrespecting me.
Woo.
I don't fuck with you, cuz. You disrespecting me. I go hard, cuz.
Hey, everyone. I hope you guys are doing good today. Okay, why is my chat box not working? Oh, that sucks. Okay, well, since it's not working, let me move that out the way. But y'all, I've been gone for weeks. I've been really sick, so I'm still not all the way right, you know what I'm saying? But I wanted to come on just because I wanted to talk about everything that's gone on in the past 48 hours with Charlie Kirk. Let me know if y'all can't hear me. I'm trying to talk up as much as I can, but I feel like my voice is still like really low. So I hope you guys can hear me because I don't have the energy to yell at all. But I've missed y'all so much. I swear I've missed y'all. I've missed Discord, but I had to I was out of it. I just had to really get back better as much as I can. So I'm about 80% there. I'm not 100% yet, but I want to come on live. I'm just like, dang, it's boring just sitting in the bed and not being able to talk. There's so much news and so much stuff going on that I want to talk about. Okay, good. Y'all can hear me? Okay, good. I'm happy. Yay. And it's a lot of stuff like Young Thug. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about so much stuff, but I'll talk about that. I'll do like a breakdown of the Young Thug drama because I know a lot of people wanted my thoughts on that. The young black women that have been killed recently, I want to talk about them. The young Ukrainian girl on the bus, I want to talk about her. So it's a lot of stuff that I personally want to give commentary on, even though it might be a week or so old. I still want to give my opinions on each topic. So just be patient. I just had to get good enough to be able to sit up and edit and really put my thoughts together. But until then, we will talk about the Charlie Kirk situation because I do want to hit on that just because that entire situation was very, very disturbing to, not just me, but to people all over the world. And how I first heard about it, I was in my room laying down, and then I got up to the kitchen to go get something to drink. And my youngest son was in the garage. And so I peeked out in the garage. And I was like, oh, what's going on out here? And he was like, I'm watching this video of Charlie Kirk. He just got killed. And I'm like, wait, what? And he's like, yeah, somebody just shot him in Utah. And so he showed me the video, and I was blown away, like, what the fuck am I watching? And this is on Twitter, and it was so disturbing. And so my first thing was, this is just, I don't care who it is. It's just like, I don't know. It's just something that's just not natural to watch somebody get shot like that. And then to see them possibly take their last breath. And I'm just like, if he doesn't make it through this, it's going to be some shit to pay behind this. That was like one of my first thoughts. And now let me say this about Charlie Kirk himself, like my thoughts on Charlie. I've never really been into Charlie Kirk. I can't say that I've ever sat and watched a Charlie Kirk YouTube video. And y'all know I like to watch a lot of different people's points of views, regardless if I agree with them or don't agree with them. I've watched Candace Owens, I've watched Ben Shapiro, Mark Dice, Matt Walsh. I just never really got into Charlie Kirk because to me, he just reminded me of a new age Steven Crowder. It's like Steven Crowder crawled so Charlie Kirk could run. Because Steven Crowder did all that years ago, going to college campuses and yelling at people and going back and forth. So I'm not into the whole college style debate. And I would just notice that when he would debate, especially when black people would get up and say things to him, he was very condescending, talked very quickly, very dismissive, very short. It's almost like, ugh, these Negroes, what do they want? It was, just very, he didn't have the same level of patience with them. And I'm not saying that he had it with others, but I would watch him, go back and forth with more extreme white supremacists who were not into Jews. And he kind of gave them, he was able to allow them to kind of articulate themselves. But I noticed with like the black folks, it's like, oh, y'all ain't got no daddy in the home. Next, oh, baby mama drama. It was always like really, you know what I mean? Really short. So I just wasn't into his style. And then I know him and Nick Fuentes were kind of, Nick was calling him out, wanting to debate and stuff like that. You know, there's all types of stuff that happens, you know, on the right. And so, but I knew that he's the one who put Candace Owens on because at one point she was part of Turning Point USA and all that stuff. So, either way, right? I don't agree with everything or literally anything that Charlie Kirk had to say, but I also don't believe in people being silenced, people being killed for having a particular point of view. You know, especially being that we all do commentary, right? I'm a very opinionated person. Everybody knows that. And again, like I always say, you don't have to agree with people. You know, you have the right to change the channel, scroll up, you know, go watch somebody else. It should never lead to any type of political violence. You know, I definitely agree with that. I felt like to watch people cheering it on was really just surreal. Just me personally, I can't celebrate anybody's death in that way. Now, I'm not saying you got to cry tattoo tears and mourn, but I'm also not going to celebrate somebody taking their last breath, you know. Even though he put out a lot of hateful rhetoric, he put out a lot of, you know, nonsense. He put out a lot of propaganda himself. But at the end of the day, that's between him and God. You know, it's not my place to like celebrate and cheer. But I'm also not going to be fake and, you know, sit here and cry tears and act like I'm in deep mourning for somebody that I personally didn't watch, you know. So I just think that it's a lot. And one thing I've noticed with this situation with Charlie Kirk is the parasocial relationships that people have with influencers, podcasters, commentators, and some of those parasocial relationships are what you call healthy, right? Like, you know, I'm a tea sipper, or I'm a, you know, Beehive member. You know, Beyonce's my favorite artist. But then you have people who take it to the extreme. And what I've noticed, especially with a lot of the mainstream news media, Fox News particularly, they were taking their stand worship of Charlie Kirk to the extreme. The fact that they were blaming the left, they were blaming all Democrats, everything was they, those theys. It's like the rhetoric that was being stated all over the mainstream media. And this was mainstream media. This wasn't just Twitter. This wasn't just, you know, TikTok. This was on national news. You know, the things that were being blamed on people were one, there was no proof as to who the shooter was. You know, even when they first said it was an old man, people were saying, you know, he's a Democrat boomer. Then come to find out the old man didn't do it. You know, but it was all these assumptions on who it would be. And the assumptions were this was a Democrat. This was somebody on the left. This was a lunatic liberal. And so it's insane to see how that's not what's playing out. So I have some TikToks here. Yeah, because they fired the one man at MSNBC who was stating his opinion. He didn't lie because a lot of the things he was saying were things that Charlie Kirk himself said. He said he didn't feel empathy. Empathy was a woke emotion. He said that a few people have to die in order to keep the Second Amendment. Those were Charlie Kirk's words. You know, a lot of these same people, they didn't feel bad. You guys know my last video that I did about 2.5 weeks ago was about the Catholic school shooting out here in Minneapolis. That was the last video I did before I got sick. And I didn't see a lot of these folks feeling bad for those kids. And, you know, it was just more about protecting the Second Amendment. And again, I'm not against guns. You know, I'm not against getting your gun license and going to the range and protecting yourself. But I do feel like there's something inherently wrong when kids are having to do gun drills at school. Because when I was a kid, you know, the drills that we did tornado drills where we went in the hallway and we put our hands behind our heads. Those were the drills that we did. We never had to do active shooter drills. And the fact that this is happening more and more, it's really disturbing. And, you know, it's a lot to be said. So I want to go ahead and just play you guys some of the videos here from TikTok and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and watch just the reason why some people are not fans of Charlie Kirk. You know, just some of the racist things that he spewed and some of his ideologies, things he said about DEI, black pilots. So we're just going to watch some of those, and then we'll go on to the people who are cheering it on and stuff like that. So let me go ahead and pull this up here. Okay, you know what? Let me do this. Is this the one? Yes, it is. Okay, give me just a second. I had it all set up on my other screen, but being that the whatchamacallit is not working, I'm just gonna set it up on here. So give me just a second. Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and watch this video first of Charlie Kirk. So let me go ahead and play this real quick.
Like a capitalist every single day, Shank. I live as a capitalist, okay? I live when I believe. No. What do? I get charity every single year.
I'm like, I'm sorry, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. Because of DEI, it begs the question, when you see a black pilot, you wonder, you say, I hope they are qualified. If I'm dealing with somebody in customer service who's a moronic black woman, I wonder, is she there because of her excellence, or is she there because of affirmative action? It almost creates thought patterns that are not necessarily. No one really cares when it's HR managers. No one cared when it was, you know, just kind of paper shufflers or even engineers. But now when it's like, wait, hold on a second. You're going to remove my appendix and you're a black lesbian.
Like a capitalist every single day, Shank. I live as a.
So y'all heard him say the CH word. You know, he's talking about, you know, black pilots and black women. And, you know, I have pilots in my family that are black. One of my really good friends was a female pilot in the Army, you know, in the Air Force. So it's like, that's really offensive to say that, because you got to go through some of the most like strenuous training. Like, you don't just get that type of job simply because of DEI. You still have to have the skills to man a fucking plane. So, you know, it's just very dismissive when he says things like that. So let me see here if I got another clip. Okay, so this is the one that he was going in on these young black boys. So let me go ahead and fix this here. They're talking about, like, you know, black fathers not being in the home. And I want you guys to kind of listen to like how he kind of talks to them. You know, just real dismissive, very matter of fact. Let me fix this here. Give me just a second. Like I said, everything was fixed on my other screen, but all right, there we go. All right, so that way y'all can see Charlie.
Black people are allowed to talk about black culture in a way that white culture cannot. For example, black people can go up and say that there's a baby mama problem in black America, and white people are not allowed to say that. Oh, I just did. So what are you gonna do, cancel me? Black people are allowed to say, I'm a grown man, I got way too much to worry about. Black people are allowed to say that there is a systemic fraud issue within the PP loan application in black America. Black people are much easier to be able to say that black individuals, despite being 13% of the American population, commit 55% of the murders. If most white people say that at a job, they would get fired for being a racist. I don't care because I say whatever I want. So black individuals have much more intellectual public freedom than white people do. If a white person were to come up and say, you know, black America really needs to get its act together and stop sleeping around all the time, and it needs to actually have monopoly.
Why would you?
Because it's true. Because
why would you just walk up to someone and talk and attack their culture from the outside?
Well, hold on. Hold on. Let's look at the evidence. You said to myself, you said there's all these people suffering in Chicago. There's all these people that are terrible. I'm telling you why. It's because there's been bad decisions that have been institutionalized institutionalized, let me finish, and rap artists and athletes and people at the top level of black society that refuse to ever challenge the core rot in black America, which is that they are allowing degeneracy and hedonism to eat the soul of what once was a beautiful black culture, and instead they go around saying it's the boogeyman of racism, the white man is out to get you, and the result is black America is doing worse than it was in the 1960s. That is the contention, period.
It's not just that. It's a culture. It's so much deeper than the present day we are in. I don't know why you're pretending like it just doesn't matter.
What doesn't matter? You mean things that happen? Again, I've been through this multiple times. Let me just ask you one.
But you're not listening to understand.
No,
you're listening to reply.
No, I'm doing both actually. And so, but let me just ask one final question, right? Which is that you have your entire future ahead of you. When you are hired for a job, would you rather be hired because of your race or because of how qualified you are?
It doesn't boil down to just that.
That's what DEI is, man.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's
not.
It is
definitionally the hiring of people.
They're not just going to immediately see. You
get extra points if you're black with DEI. That's how it works. Racial quotas elevate people based on the color of their skin.
So do you think I got extra points to come here?
I don't know. You said you were qualified. But affirmative action was institutionalized in Harvard and in Texas and a lot of other places. We know this. So I again, TU, we don't like them, right? So, but again, I just want to I want to just repeat this point. Where can I go to work that you can?
It's not just that.
Exactly. There is nothing that is preventing black people from prospering. Nothing. The only thing is that you guys have been hypnotized to be victims of your own mind, to think as if there's a white person out to get you.
All right, let me come back on the screen here. So that's one of the videos. I mean, there's tons. So like I said, hold on. Okay, not the NBA YoungBoy concert playing automatically. But like I said, so that's why I just wasn't into his content, because I just felt like, he really talked down a lot, especially when he would have black people come up there. Those boys were very respectful. They weren't trying to overtalk him. They were trying to state their point, very articulate, so he wasn't interested in debate. And so my issue is this. This is what happens when you are a professional rage baiter. And that is how I see Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens. A lot of them are professional rage baiters. They say things and they do things to cause rage, to bait, because they know that rage bait in this day and age is currency. Let's keep it real. They get a bag off of it. They get followers. They go viral. I don't even know if he really means a lot of the stuff that he was saying. Okay? Maybe some of the stuff about black people he means and he really felt that way. But a lot of the stuff that he would say and that a lot of these people say, they say it to push buttons, to get a reaction out of people. Because he knows at this point in time, he's living off of, this segment of population. They're funding his lifestyle. They're funding his trips. They're funding everything. So he has to keep up that persona. Because again, if they really stood by this and it wasn't just rage baiting and trying to pick on the lowest people on the totem pole, which are marginalized people, black people, LGBT community, it's easier to pick on those people, right? And make them the center of the problem and, you guys' fault. There's no such thing as white supremacy and systematic racism. Pull yourself up by the bootstraps, okay? So if everything is copacetic and they can say whatever they feel and he can't be canceled, why anytime they go about talking about Israel or the Jewish community, they get silenced? Even the whole Epstein list. Let's not forget, before all this stuff happened, remember, there was a huge fracture in the MAGA community with the whole Epstein list, right? Because the Epstein list was teased for years. They swore up and down all the Democrats would be on there, drinking babies' blood and eating children. Then the commander-in-chief said, well, we're not releasing the list. And remember, Charlie Kirk was upset. That was the first time he really called the president out. This was just about a month ago. Y'all can go back and look at all this stuff. He called him out. And when I tell you, within 48 hours, he changed his stance like this. Within 48 hours. So my thing is, if right is right and you stand for truth and that's how you really feel, why would your chance why would your chance change that quickly? That doesn't make any sense. Just like Candace Owens said some really interesting stuff when she was speaking on Charlie Kirk, and we're going to get to that in a bit because it kind of ties into the situation that him and Megyn Kelly were talking about. And I think this happened a few weeks ago. Charlie was very upset that he was being called anti-Semitic. And him and Megyn Kelly, they were talking about it on her show. He was very upset about this label. He felt like he should be able to say certain things. He should be able to say that he doesn't want America's money going to Israel and all that stuff. And so it's very interesting that when they don't want certain things discussed or talked about, they'll do a whole about face. So this is why I say that to me, a lot of this is just professional rage bait because it's easier to talk down on black folks. We really have no power. The most we can do, we can rant and rave on the internet. We can talk shit and roast you on TikTok. But as far as like any real power, we have no real power. You know, outside of social media and talking shit on TikTok, we can't systemically do anything to white people. Maybe you can complain and rant and rave, but you can't stop a white person from getting a loan at the bank. You can't stop a white person from getting a mortgage, right? So systemically, we have no power. We can just rant and rave and be prejudiced, and that's really it. So it's just very interesting that when it comes to that, he's so quick and sharp. And, even when, as sad as it was when he was in the middle of getting shot, he was talking about gang violence. But you're in a white town in Utah and was still met with that same violence. It's the whole thing is just really sad. And what's even more disturbing is just after it happened, it was like this feeling of, just this divide. And y'all know I hate division. I've always said my channel is not a place for division. That's why I don't too much get into politics. I feel like everybody's grown. You decide what side you're on. It's not for me to change anybody's mind or steer anybody whichever way. That's your grown business. But to see the mainstream media really go out their way to divide and to plant seeds of dissension was disturbing, because again, me being here in Minnesota, it was just in the month of June that the Minnesota Speaker, Melissa Hortman, was shot. Then you had the state senator, John Hoffman, and his wife. They were shot and wounded. And I remember the president saying that he wouldn't call our governor, Tim Walz. He refused to call him. A lot of people had jokes about their death. It was like huge conspiracies. So I just find it really rich that these same people who kind of dismiss these deaths of these Democrats are now demanding, all this undue sympathy and National Day of Mourning when it's somebody on their side. How about we have that empathy chip no matter what side somebody's on? How about we condemn all of this nonsense? Because that's what it is when it boils down to it. This is a bunch of sick ass shit. The divisiveness, the hate, the shootings. It's extremely disturbing. So let's go ahead and watch some of the people who did not feel bad about it. And again, I don't agree with this either. I think this is just as disgusting. But like I said, I'm going to show all sides. So we're going to go ahead and watch this here really quick. Let's see. Okay. Let me just try and... Oh, hold on. Okay, so this is one of the people who is basically like, they don't care or whatever about it. And so this man is going and filming people, I guess, at the University of Utah. So we're going to go ahead and watch this here.
Thank you.
In my opinion, I think they're going to flip it and say the other way. But I think the left has disputes so much hate and brainwashed so many people into doing stupid like this. But they're going to flip it and see, he was so hateful, and he spewed all this hatred.
You're almost going to say he deserved it.
Yeah, they're going to say he deserved. I've already seen people. That's what I've seen. I've already seen people saying he deserved it. He spews all this hate, and they're going to say because the hate he spewed, he should have gotten that. It's a sign of, I think, what liberalism has done to U.S. society. It's just led to a complete moral decay and decay of morals and just any semblance of humanity. Like, you just degrade people because of your political opinions. But I don't know. I don't have much else to say on that. It's just the same old thing every time.
It's very interesting that he's saying that, but the same could be said on the other side as well. That's just the truth of the matter. And again, people like this, they go out there to, poke, prod, and go viral. He doesn't care. He's just looking to get views. So now let me see here. This was another lady.
Lord, he did say that gun deaths were an acceptable side effect of gun rights. I'm not sad. It's about time Karma took out that trash.
So then they doxed her, put all her business out there. Again, it's to be expected.
Sword, die by the sword. He did say that gun deaths were...
Let's see here. And then this one was weird. There was a book that ended up coming out literally the day after he died. So we're going to watch this real quick.
So for somebody who writes books, how long does it take for a book to really get published? So here I am scrolling, and then I come across this on Amazon. This shit just happened 24 hours ago. How in the hell did this get published that fast? Wait, because there are physical copies as well. I was just super curious, and it got published today. But again, this event just happened 24 hours ago. How the fuck is this even possible? And I mean, I know that this book is talking about yesterday because here's the overview speaking about yesterday. Again, there are physical copies. So for anybody who writes books, publishes books, does publications, whatever the hell, I just want a little clarity because...
Okay, I hear a chirp in the background. Y'all know how I feel about them damn smoke detectors. As soon as I hear them, you're done. Objection, you got to go. Y'all know how I feel. My ears. But I'm assuming the book is AI, like it was written by AI, because that's insane. That's insane. So let me see here. Y'all know I'll play with them damn smoke detectors. You got a smoke detector going, you got to go. I hate smoke detectors. It does not take. I told y'all I'm like I'm traumatized because it's not even my childhood. That's still my adulthood. When I go to my mom's house, there's always that beep. It's like, Mom, change your smoke detector. She's just used to the sound, I guess, and I can't get up there. Okay, so you guys saw some of the people who were cheering Charlie Kirk's death on, which I think is disgusting, like I said at the beginning of the stream. Now we're also going to watch some of the people who are flipping out, who are very upset because they really have these parasocial relationships, with Charlie Kirk, and other influencers. So we're going to watch this really quick here. So let's see here.
This is such bullshit! I've never been so pissed in my whole life! And this murder Charlie Kirk right here in Utah! I'm so freaking pissed right now! This is bullshit! I just saw blood squirting out of his neck! I love that guy! He would have been our next president! I am so pissed right now! Why do they always come with fucking violence? Gosh damn it! freaking words is there talking to you people? Who shot Charlie Kirk? I'm driving down a Provo right now. I'm so pissed. Damn it! This is such bullshit. I've never been.
I mean, and it's sad. You know, he has his right to feel this way. He's upset. He's a huge fan. You know, so, I mean, you have people who were taking this very, very hard. So we're going to look at some of the, the Alex Jones and the Steve Bannons.
We're in a war. The left has been saying put a bullseye on Trump, a bullseye on his supporters.
Charlie Kirk's a casualty of war. We're in this country. We are.
They are at war with us. Whether we want to accept it or not, they are at war with us. And what are we going to do about it?
Notice they keep saying at war. So now let's listen to Don Lemon.
Is war. I'm not saying that. That is how many conservatives are responding to this Charlie Kirk thing. It is out of control. And I have to say, it is really scary. There's so much going on. Like, they don't even know who the shooter is right now. And they're blaming left-wing, liberals, all of this stuff. They don't even know who it is. Well, let's talk about it. D.L. Hughley, Jennifer Welch of I've Had It, David Pakman, Jolly, Michael Fanone, Good Trouble, Walter Masterson, all join me live on Lemon Live at 5 today on YouTube.
So y'all saw that. And here's another clip.
Disgusting. Take a look at this compilation of Jesse Waters as well as several other very influential people on the right calling for a civil war after the unaliving of Charlie Kirk. I've also got multiple different social media posts from people on the right calling for the exact same thing, but look at this video first.
We're in a war. The left has been saying put a bullseye on Trump, a bullseye on his supporters.
Charlie Kirk's a casualty of war. We're in this country. We are.
They are at war with us. Whether we want to accept it or not, they are at war with us.
Keep in mind, millions of people are watching these guys speak. I mean, Jesse Waters is saying that on Fox News. That's unbelievable. To make things even worse, we still don't even know the political party affiliation or the motive of the unaliver, and they're already jumping to civil war. Here's a post from this popular cartoon account on Twitter saying, the unaliving of Charlie Kirk is a turning point in the USA. I hope those leftists understand what they've wished for. He posts a cartoon here of a Democrat saying, pray didn't help Charlie Kirk, did it? And then this guy says, no, I was praying for you, for what's about to come. Then Andrew Tate, who's not even from the United States and is a human trafficker, just said civil war. That was his reaction. And you already know this horrible account is playing into it as well, saying this is war. But they're fighting with themselves because this guy pointed out something very important, saying, I would like it to be noted that every Democrat on Twitter from Gavin Newsom to Brooklyn Defiant is condemning the unaliving of Charlie Kirk, but not a single Republican condemned the assassination of Melissa Hortman. We are not the violent ones. We are not the ones who commit these terrible acts a majority of the time. When will you guys understand that? We want to end firearm violence in this country. It's happening to way too many people across party lines, and it has to stop. This is truly disgusting.
Okay. And then there's this other lady. She's a lunatic.
To go out and shoot a young man who's never hurted anyone with Christian values, a young, beautiful family, a father, a husband, a friend, a son. You shot him. Why? Because you didn't agree with his politics? Because you didn't agree with his ideology? That's the reason why he deserves to die? You fucking animals! Hearts to go out and
okay, so keep this lady in mind here. Let me come back on the screen. So she went off. She went viral yesterday. And so I went to her Instagram. Well, now that the killer has been found, her energy's a bit different. But we'll watch a little bit more of her rant. Let me pull up her IG page here. Give me just a second. I'll watch a bit more of her rant. Yeah, she's extra for no reason. because I want y'all to see once, like, it, you know, comes out with who ends up being the shooter.
You motherfucking animals! You liberal, progressive, deranged fucking animals! You are so hateful in your hearts to go out and shoot a young man who's never hurted anyone with Christian values, a young, beautiful family, a father, a husband, a friend, a son. You shot him. Why? Because you didn't agree with his politics? Because you didn't agree with his ideology? That's the reason why he deserves to die? You fucking animals! You motherfucking...
So you guys heard how she was going off on the left and, you know, all that stuff. So now let's find out who actually did the crime. Okay. So let me pull this up here. Hold on. Oh yeah. I want to also hit on this. So give me just a second. The HBCUs were getting death threats yesterday because of all this foolishness. So let's go ahead. Let me pull this out a little bit. So a lot of black folks were catching strays behind this because people were saying it was a trans man who did it. It was black people who shot him. I mean, it was so many rumors. It was ridiculous. So we're going to watch this.
On pause, at least 6 historically black colleges have halted activities after receiving potential threats against their campuses. The lockdown measures come in the wake of yesterday's shooting of Charlie Kirk, though officials have not linked any of those threats to that shooting. Our Alex Brochet joins us now with more. So what are we learning about the threats and the lockdowns and where it's taking place, Alex?
Yeah, Kira. So we're tracking now at least 7 of these HBCUs that have been under lockdown in the past 24 hours following that assassination of Charlie Kirk. That includes Alabama State, Hampton, Virginia State, Southern, Bethune-Cookman, Clark Atlanta, and also Spelman there in Atlanta. Now, some of these universities have already begun the process of lifting these lockdowns or shelter in places. Others have, like Southern, have actually extended those through the weekend. They've canceled classes through the weekend, which at this moment, that is the longest extension of this lockdown. But I can tell you that the FBI has released a statement. I don't know if we have a full screen of it, but it does say that the FBI takes these threats very seriously because it puts innocent people at risk. While we have no information to indicate a credible threat, we will continue to work with our local, state, and federal law enforcement partners to gather, share, and act upon threat information as it comes to our attention. But I can tell you that we've been in touch with a number of students, including some on the campus of Hampton. Our team has, and you know, as you might imagine, Akira, I mean, this is really shaking a lot of these young students up. There's fear of uncertainty and also possible violence as this is yet another instance of.
So as you guys see, I mean, it's gotten very real these past 24 to 48 hours. And then we find out today, okay, so this is the neighbor. I guess we could watch this one. I guess the neighbor is speaking. I haven't seen this video yet. So the neighbor is speaking out on this young man. Let me fix this here. So again, it was a lot of stuff that was going on that was not okay, simply behind Charlie Kirk. So we're gonna go ahead and watch this real quick here.
And we're ready to speak with us. Miss Kristen Schwerman, can you hear me okay this morning?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about your relationship with Tyler. How well did you know him?
Tyler went to the school I was a head custodian at. I was at that school for 18 years. I know all 3 of his brothers also.
And one thing I want to ask you, is
I've
this something,
known him-
I'm so sorry to cut you off, is this something consistent with who you know him to be?
No, no, the kid was smart, quiet. He never caused any problems.
Are you shocked by this?
It was a shock. Oh yes, I am shocked. Very shocked.
What can you tell him about us? I mean, excuse me, what can you tell us about Tyler Robinson?
This is just a sloppy interview. Anything else, she sounds boring. They sound dry. Next. Let's watch this real quick. How you gonna ask her what can she tell you about them? Shut, girl.
Announcing those words our country was waiting for. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kira Phillips. The three-day manhunt for Charlie Kirk, suspected killer, comes to an end. The suspect identified as 22-year-old Tyler Robinson. Officials saying Robinson's father recognized him as the person of interest and told his son to turn himself in. They say Robinson refused at first, but later changed his mind and was arrested with the help of the family's youth pastor, who is also a U.S. Marshals Task Force officer. It all happened in St. George, Utah, about 260 miles from where Kirk was killed. Authorities say Robinson was perched on a rooftop more than 100 yards from Kirk when he fired that single shot at the conservative activist as he was speaking on the campus of Utah Valley University. They say family members describe Robinson as becoming more political in recent years and had talked with his family about not liking Kirk's views. 31-year-old Kirk had become a major figure in the conservative youth movement and was even known as the Trump Whisperer. The president and the governor of Utah reacting to Robinson's arrest this morning.
We have him in custody, right? In custody. Everyone did a great job. We worked with the local police, the governor. Everybody did a great job. You know, getting somebody that you start off with absolutely nothing. And we started off with a clip that made him look like an ant that was almost useless. We just saw there was somebody up there. And so much work has been done over the last 2.5 days.
I absolutely believe that this is a watershed in American history, yes. The question is what kind of watershed? And that chapter remains to be written. Is this the end of a dark chapter in our history or the beginning of a darker chapter in our history?
Our Jacqueline Lee has the latest for us now from Orem, Utah.
We got him.
A suspect in the shooting death of conservative...
Okay, first of all, not to be shady, but they really didn't do anything because Kash Patel, they done put up 2 other people that they claim were the shooters, and then they had to pull it back and say that they weren't the shooters. The boy confessed to his daddy. The daddy went and told the pastor, and the pastor was like, y'all need to go tell. So he confessed to it. They didn't really do anything.
Activist Charlie Kirk is in custody. Investigators announcing the arrest this morning.
On the evening of September 11th, a family member of Tyler Robinson reached out to a family friend who contacted the Washington County Sheriff's Office with information that Robinson had confessed to them or implied that he had committed the incident.
Tyler Robinson is a 22-year-old from Utah. Law enforcement are reviewing these posts on Facebook in connection with the investigation. This update coming just hours after investigators released images and additional video of a suspect jumping from a rooftop of a building after the shooting and running into the woods. Law enforcement sources saying after recognizing his son as the person of interest, Robinson's father called a youth pastor who was also a U.S. Marshal Task Force officer, who then had marshals take him into custody. One family member telling investigators he had become more political in recent years.
The family member referenced a recent incident in which Robinson came to dinner prior to September 10th, and in the conversation with another family member, Robinson mentioned Charlie Kirk was coming to UVU. They talked about why they didn't like him and the viewpoints that he had.
31-year-old Kirk was hosting an event on Utah Valley University's campus Wednesday when a single shot was fired, hitting and killing the activist. Police say they found a rifle in the woods nearby. Investigators speaking to a roommate who pointed them to messages from Robinson.
The content of these messages included messages affiliated with the contact Tyler, stating a need to retrieve a rifle from a drop point.
President Trump saying this today on Fox News.
In custody, everyone did a great job. We worked with the local police, the governor. Everybody did a great job.
Our Jacqueline Lee joins me now along with Justice Department reporter Alex Malin.
Okay, so if y'all don't know, they're saying that Shorty was, his family's Republican. He was Donald Trump for Halloween one year, had all types of guns. A mother was a proud gun owner. They would go to the range and shoot. I seen some of this stuff on Twitter. I think Keith Edwards was talking about it as well. Yeah, so we're going to watch some of what Keith Edwards is saying about it. So it's very interesting that, maybe I'm tripping, but he don't look like a lefty to me. Looks like he's Team MAGA. Or maybe I'm reaching. But I mean, I don't own any Trump t-shirts. He looks to be MAGA to me, but y'all swerping down it was a leftist person, and this is war, and the energy's different all of a sudden. Now what you're gonna see is gonna be conspiracies. Now he wasn't alone, Israel's gonna be like, it's gonna be so many rabbit holes now. Now all of a sudden that it's not a lefty. Let's see what Keith Edwards had to say.
Are trying to say is a left-wing terrorist. You let me know in the comments if you think this man is a left-wing terrorist. I will leave that up to you. But what he is this thing where people are alleging this now. We're still getting information about this alleged shooter. So please just take everything with a grain of salt. But it is looking more and more like this is someone who is in a far right, very online young man, and may be what is called a groyper. And I'm sorry to have to explain this to you, but it is important that you know what he is. Groypers are a group of alt-right white nationalists and Christian nationalist activists led by Nick Fuentes, who we've shown on the channel here before. Members have attempted to introduce alt-right politics into mainstream conservatism in the United States. Now, the reason why we know that is because there were symbols on the bullets found from this alleged shooter. And of those symbols, they are speaking to kind of like far-right ideology. So here is Jeremiah Johnson explaining this in a way that I don't think I'd be able to. But on one of the bullets, it says Bella Ciao. And it's a multi-layered reference. It's first and foremost an Italian anti-fascist song. So the right is pretending like because it's an Italian anti-fascist song, then this kid must be far left, anti-fascist. Which, by the way, why is it bad to be anti-fascist? Now, I don't think anyone should die. I know no one should die because of their beliefs. But being anti-fascist, I think, is what America used to be about, right? Wasn't that what World War II was all about? Anyways, there's more layers to it than it just being an anti-fascist song. It's also a Hearts of Iron 4 meme, which is a very popular game reference, and it's often included in Groyper playlists, which is, again, what this young man might be. And as he says, it's impossible to determine an ideology from the use of this because we don't know in what context and with how many layers of irony is being used. The only thing that he's sure of is that it indicates, along with other engraved messages, the shooter is hyper online. Now, there were 3 down arrows on one of the bullets, and that was being interpreted as a common Antifa logo, but given that the full description is up, right, down, 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 and the guy plainly had internet brain poisoning, worth noting that this is also a meme from Helldivers 2, that very online game. Now, the right is saying, from a regular middle-class family, good grades, went up to college and became an extremist anti-Antifa killer. So that is the narrative.
So now you see how they're trying to spin it. Now, he's Antifa. Antifa is part of the left. But just yesterday, y'all swerping down, this was a trans black Democrat. Now all of a sudden he's Antifa. Okay. All right, girl.
The narrative they're trying to concoct that college turned this young man into a killer, rather than, I don't know, there are pictures of this young man with guns his entire life, being around guns. And you're telling me that college groomed him into being a killer? Doesn't make sense to me. Now, Eric Erickson said, we're watching real time on social media the large progressive accounts trying to claim Tyler Robinson is a Trump-loving Republican. I'm just going to pull this photo up again. Where'd it go? You tell me if that's a Trump-loving Republican. Sarah Longwell said, all Americans watched in real time as President of the United States held an Oval Office address accusing the radical left of Charlie Kirk's murder when he had zero information about the killer. And we also have here that Elon Musk Grok AI identified Tyler Robinson, the alleged assassin, as Groyper. So there seems to be a lot of there. Now, the Groyper community, which is on a website called 4chan, has also kind of started to claim him for their own. It says here, Groyper confirmed Nick Fuentes, who was the leader of that movement, is so effed. There are more pictures here. It says, so is he our guy? And so someone goes here, convinced it was, that they were very convinced it was someone else. But no, it turns out it could very well be someone from their community. And it says here that Trump told Fox News that a minister had identified a person as Kirk's suspected shooter from photos made public by law enforcement. According to Trump, the minister got in touch with a deputy U.S. Marshal whom he knew, and eventually the suspect's father got involved. So I just want to point out that the FBI had no role in solving this crime, if this is in fact the killer. It appears it could be. We won't know. There's going to be a trial and all that sort of stuff. But because of the father who turned him in and a minister, the killer was caught. Not because of the FBI and Kash Patel, who wrongly tweeted that they found the suspect when they didn't. Okay. And so we also have Rep. Nancy Mace, who wanted to bring back the death penalty when she thought it could have been a trans killer, which doesn't really happen. But now she's saying, we truly believe if Tyler Robinson had ever sat down with Charlie Kirk, the great debater, the man of faith and grace he was, Tyler wouldn't have pulled the trigger. And she also...
Now, this is the same lunatic lady that was hooping and hollering yesterday about the left and going off. And, I mean, she just knew she had the suspect in the bag. She was yelling at the mainstream media. It's funny how she's done a whole about face, a straight up about face. And these are supposed to be representatives who are supposed to exemplify professionalism. And she showed none yesterday. Very ghetto, very low class, and very uncouth was her behavior.
Asked for people to pray for Charlie Kirk's assassin, alleged assassin, to find Jesus Christ. Do you think she would have had...
Oh, now you want us to pray for him? But yesterday when it was the leftists who was supposedly out, the trans black leftists out here, you know, they was sending death threats to HBCUs. They was harassing trans people on Twitter. But now we're supposed to pray for the... Oh, okay, girl. Bitch. Objection. I will be saving my prayers.
The same decency for someone that appeared to be an ideology she didn't agree with, perhaps a black person, perhaps a trans person? No, of course not. Kash Patel said this, and then the right wing media ecosystem freaked out.
Lastly, to my friend Charlie Kirk, rest now, brother. We have the watch, and I'll see you in Valhalla.
What?
A fucking idiot. Okay.
Did he say Valhalla? I thought Charlie Kirk was like a Christian. What does he mean, see you in Valhalla? Valhalla. What? Sorry. What the fuck?
Okay. As Christopher Hale says here, the Hindu FBI director tells a deceased Protestant he'll meet him in pagan paradise with a Mormon governor watching on. And then someone else also said, telling a guy whose defining trait was his Christian faith that you will see him in Valhalla is so hilariously out of touch that it almost hurts. And this MAGA influencer said, this is cringe beyond belief. Kash has got to go. We also have photos of the alleged assassin replicating.
I'm sorry. The world is a stage. I don't. Oh my God, I haven't laughed this hard in a while. The world is a stage. What? I see you in Valhalla, my brother. Okay, sir. You can't make this up.
This far right meme you can see here, and then he's here. So again, like that is like where we're kind of getting the sense that this very online kid very well may have been in Nick Fuentes's community. They also have the bullets, and then Ken, like no far left person would have this written on a bullet casing. And it said, if you read this, you are gay, LMAO. Yeah. Does that sound far left to you? No. And we also have.
Okay, so let me come back on the screen. It's a lot. It's a lot that's been going on these past few hours. But yeah, it's very interesting that is the shooter. Tyler, looks like just a regular young Republican. Now, Nick Fuentes has been gaining a lot of steam ever since he got unbanned off of Twitter. There are people who repost him all the time on YouTube. And I would say that Nick Fuentes is like Charlie Kirk, but probably 5 times worse because he doesn't care what comes out his mouth. Nick Fuentes will sit up there and be like, yo, my nigga, and all types of crazy stuff. And he didn't like Charlie. He felt like Charlie was not extreme enough because one thing about Nick will call out Israel. He'll call out, the Jewish community and everything else. So I think they're going to definitely try to pin this on Nick's group. Because initially they were saying that it was the left because Charlie Kirk is against, baby mama, single parenthood culture and gang violence and, transsexuals and all that stuff. But if this guy is coming from Nick Fuentes's, subgroup, I think it had everything to do with with Charlie Kirk taking a step back from his stance on Israel. Because that's one thing about Nick Fuentes' group. They do call out Israel. And when Charlie Kirk tried to, he backed back within like 24 to 48 hours. And so we're going to watch what Candace Owens had to say because I think what Candace Owens had to say kind of proves what I'm feeling a little bit as far as Charlie possibly wanted to change his stance but couldn't. So we're going to watch this really quick here. All right, so this is Candace Owens. Let me... Hold on. All right, so we're going to go ahead and watch this here.
On my playlist, and Charlie goes, is this Jay-Z? I almost made him pull over the vehicle. I was like, are you kidding me? Okay, I understand that you don't do culture, but like, come on. You don't know the difference between Jay-Z and Kanye. And he didn't. And I explained to him the difference. I was like, okay, no, you gotta get into some Kanye West music. Next thing you know, Charlie's really getting into some Kanye West music. He's running 10 miles a day. He got really into running. And he's texting me about how great it is. Like there's this text, Charlie. He's like, yes, it's my new favorite song. And he just loved it. Kanye's Power kind of became our theme song for the tour. I have no idea why, but that was our hype song. Months later, we've been listening to Kanye's old albums on repeat. Suddenly Kanye West tweets, I love the way Candace Owens thinks. The excitement. Okay, we were certain that we had manifested it. We were 100%. We manifested this by listening to Power on repeat. Actually, I found a clip of us backstage on that day when that tweet happened. And we were doing what I used to refer to as like the Charlie dance. Here it is. You don't understand like the divinity of him tweeting that. Like,
I'm living in that
Charlie
21st
dance.
century. There's something meaning to it.
The era of Kanye. Charlie was my overly bright and sometimes really Annoying kid brother. I was smiling going through my chat of how many times he would text me a picture and say, does this look cool? Does this look cool? Do I look cool? This is like just a screen recording of us talking about a pair of sunglasses. He's just sending me it. I'm like, nah, that's not good. Nope, that's not. No, send. Okay, that one's okay. That'll work. And this is actually one of my favorite photos of him where he said, I can just hear him when I look at this photo. I can hear him saying, does this look cool? He was wearing a pair of Yeezys that Kanye gave him, and he looked really cool. I thought they really suited him. I was like, yeah, you look really cool, Charlie. There's always some hip hop mixed in, Ignition, remix.
Now, y'all notice, okay? Charlie knew the words verbatim. Now, granted, Charlie's from Chicago, but you guys know he knew the words to Ignition and the other white guy. I don't know who the other white guy was in the car. Verbatim. Let's continue.
Here it is.
Creativity, purity, and honesty is honesty. Keep clouded by these wrong thoughts. Reality is catching up with me. Chasing my image, now I'm fighting for custody.
Just literally me, Charlie, and Sarah, who was his assistant at the time, to see how many times he's just right behind my back. Charlie always had my back, and I always had his. Charlie was right by my side when I started Blexit, obviously. He was also there the night that I met my husband, which was absolutely an incredible night. Everything, and this is our text chain speaking about that moment. He's like, his heart is wonderful. You guys are meant for each other. I see it brilliantly and clearly. And he gets it. He isn't afraid of you being you. You know, Charlie really loved Erica from the time I'm reading through the text today. Just loved her. He loved his family. He really did. And I just want to say that Charlie and I, because I think this is important, never for a single minute, ever, did Charlie and I stop being friends. Even when the world demanded that from both of us,
So pay close attention to this part. This is why I feel like my tin hat is tingling. Because remember, the Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro, many in the Jewish community, they turned their backs on Candace when she started calling out AIPAC and Israel and everything else. And because Charlie Kirk is who put her on through Turning Point USA, a lot of people expected Charlie to also distance himself from Candace as well. But listen to what Candace is saying here.
Our relationship was real. We were brother and sister. You know, we were fortified. Our relationship was forged in fire, the fire of politics. I knew him. I knew Charlie, the real Charlie. And we laughed at how wrong it was when people thought that when I had made up my mind about Israel, that Charlie and me fell apart. Nope, never, not for a second. I said, it's the easiest decision ever because Charlie knew who I was and I knew who he was. I said, Charlie, this is where I'm at and there's no room for movement. And you tell your whoever that needs to hear it, whatever you need to tell them, because we're always going to be brothers and sisters. Talk about things and debate things behind the scenes. And I think my perspective was as it's been throughout our relationship. You might not get it now, Charlie, but you will. I'm only a few years older than you, but I think you're gonna see things my way. And I think in the end, Charlie was going through a spiritual transformation. I don't think it. I know it. He was going through a lot, and there was a lot of pressure. And it's hard for me to watch the people who were pressuring him, I don't know, just say the things that they're saying. You know, there's something about it that just feels really fake. Feels really fake to me. And
basically what she's saying in so many words is that Charlie was starting to wake up and call out Israel and, you know, AIPAC and Jeffrey Epstein list and all that stuff. And then he was basically pressured to shut the hell up. And that's why she feels a way about the same people who are now trying to act like they're mourning him and they feel bad because Obviously, there are people behind the scenes who are pressuring him to not speak about certain things. But of course, he's trying to say it in a roundabout way.
They would have allowed him to lose and wanted him to lose everything for changing or even slightly modifying an opinion. And then to see them doing what they're doing today, it's hurtful to me. It's very hurtful to me.
Now, you heard how she said that him wanting to change his opinion would have meant him losing everything. And remember when I told you guys earlier in the stream that he had a meeting with, well, he did a video with Megyn Kelly, and he was complaining that he was being called anti-Semitic, and he was saying that it wasn't fair. People were questioning his morals just because he's questioning Israel and saying that he doesn't want money being sent to Israel. So this is saying a lot without saying a lot. And this is why I go back to my original point of people like Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk being professional rage baiters. They are. I'm going to let her finish.
But I don't want today to be about anything other than you guys knowing that Charlie really was an amazing person. You know, he was like, we were really close. And he was my best friend and my brother. And I will never unsee the footage of what I saw, the violence of it. I pray for the people who took any pleasure in that. I would never, there's not a single person in the world that I would wish that on. And least of all, someone with a heart like Charlie's. He loved his family, he loved his wife, he loved his country. And he didn't deserve that ending. You know, he's really young. But I know that we will carry the torch. I will never allow the memory of Charlie to be forgotten, obviously, because there is no Candace without Charlie. You know, we came up in politics together. And so I don't know what else to say, guys, other than I'm in a lot of pain right now. And I love you, Charlie. And, I'll see you when I'll see you. I love you very much. I put on a Kanye song,
See you in Valhalla. Okay, let me come back on the screen. Sorry. So that is what Candace had to say. And she's obviously very emotional, right? Because that was her legitimate friend. That's who put her on. Her and Charlie had a very, very close relationship. But Candace is saying a lot without saying a lot. And if you're able to read in between the lines and you understand what is going on in right-wing social media politics, you can see that a lot of the things that he was saying just a few weeks ago, he had to quickly walk back. They were threatening his livelihood and a lot of stuff. That's also when Nick Fuentes started going in on Charlie Kirk, wanting to debate him and basically calling him a bootlicker and all types of stuff. So I think this whole situation goes a lot deeper. But this is why I said that I don't think the whole thing, I don't find anything funny about it. I find it extremely disturbing, for somebody to lose their life in that manner publicly, just very, very just gut-wrenching. It was just sick to see. And, but that's one reason why I call him a professional rage baiter. And Candace, because people have turned demonizing certain groups into a bag. It's a bag to be had now. If I can get up and talk bad about the entire, because they always paint the entire community with one brush, there's a bag to be had. And that goes for that crazy Officer Tatum. He does the same thing as well. I remember when the Hodge twins were just about working out and making funny YouTube videos. And now all they do is shit on black people because it's a grift. I don't really believe that they believe half of the stuff that they're saying. And we see that now from what Candace is posting. See, Candace is thinking that she's posting, just some lovable memories of Charlie. But what Candace is really doing for me personally is exposing who Charlie Kirk really was. He was grifting. Because behind the scenes, while he's up there demonizing rap and black culture and hip hop and everything else, behind the scenes, y'all are in the car rapping, it's the remix to Ignition, hot and fresh out the kitchen, mind whirling, that body got every man in here. He knew the words verbatim. verbatim. Meaning, you listen to hip hop, you engage. Of all songs, you're sitting here rapping an R. Kelly song, they're rapping Kanye West songs. So that's what I'm saying. You know, everybody keeps wanting to say, oh, Charlie never hurt anybody. No, he's never physically gone out and punched anybody in their face or, you know, jumped somebody or assaulted somebody. But just because you haven't physically hurt somebody does not mean that your words do not cause harm. And that's the problem with a lot of these grifters, is that they say anything for views, to go viral. Because the money, you know, rage bait is a new currency. You have AI doing it. That's how much of a currency it is, that there's whole AIs dedicated to demonizing black people. I did a whole video about it, I think like a month or two ago. They got black women, you know, wearing pink wigs, looking like gorillas and everything else. No, words can harm. They most definitely can. Your words can definitely cause harm. If I sit up here all day, right, EP, Gar, and this is not no disrespect, I'm just responding back to you because I see your comment. So I have a platform, right? So what if I doxed you and I just sit here and tell my audience, y'all need to go, you know, I'm not the one coming to your house physically. I'm not the one physically doing anything to you, but I'm steadily talking about you on my platform every day, talking about you're not shit, you know, you're DL, you got 6 baby mamas, you don't take care of your kids. And I don't know if you're a guy or a girl. I'm just throwing, you know, some stuff out there. What if every day I'm up here slandering you and everything I'm saying about you is not true? Words can hurt. I may not be physically in your face, punching you, but if I'm sitting here every day slandering you, slandering your reputation, what you're about, making falsehoods on you, and then people start reacting based on the words that I'm saying on my platform, they can turn into words that hurt. Why do you think people dox people? They dox people not because they're going to pull up. They dox people in hopes that somebody else is crazy enough to do their dirty work. Let's not forget the other day, Matt Walsh was calling for a bunch of like mess. He wanted people to get out there and fight. And Nick Fuentes had called out Matt Walsh. Let me see if I can find that. And he was basically saying, Matt Walsh, you won't do shit. You're trying to send people out to do your dirty work. Let me see if I can find it. I don't even know if we can even play anything, Nick Fuentes. Let me not even play it because then they might take off the stream. But if y'all can find it, y'all can find it. But basically, he was saying some real stuff. Even though I don't, you know, agree with a lot of the shit that Nick says. But a lot of these people will hype people up with their words in hopes that other people act out on those words. So words definitely have power. The power of life and death is in the tongue. So never assume that your words don't mean anything. They can. You know, like I said, just because I'm not the one physically in your face assaulting you, if I have a platform and I start tearing you down and my audience comes after you, that's going to hurt. If you have a business and I send my audience to go, you know, 1-star your business and give you, you know, horrible Google reviews, oh, those are just words. Well, that's affecting your business. That's affecting your bottom line. That's affecting how you feed your family. So we got to get out of that, you know, it's just words. It's not a big deal. It is a big deal. Words have consequences. And the things that you speak can have consequences. And I'm not saying that every single thing that Charlie Kirk said was bad or wasn't true. I'm sure if I watched him more, there might have been a few things that I could have found that I agree with. I'm just not into the whole debating people, you know, on college campuses. I feel like I did that in the early 2010s when I used to watch Louder with Crowder, you know. But yeah, you have to be responsible for your words and the seeds that you plant. Because by Charlie Kirk's logic when he talks about black pilots and black people being DEI, well, then what does he consider Candace? He hired Candace based on her, they don't want to call it DEI, but, he hired her based on her rhetoric, based on the things that she says. So by that logic, she herself is DEI. So that's why I think that a lot of these people are grifters, nothing more, nothing less. Piano Style says, T, do you believe in censorship? I don't believe in censorship at all. I mean, if you've been on my channel any length of time, I feel like people are free to say whatever they want to say. But just understand, just because you're free to say certain things, there can be consequences behind what you say. And that's just the truth of the matter. I don't think that people, I don't know, I'm not that thin-skinned where things necessarily bother me per se, because I think, because I've been on social media so long, I've heard it all. I've received my share number of death threats, right? So I think for me, I'm probably more thick-skinned than most. And my thing is, if I don't like something, I just don't watch it. But I don't think that should be where that person shouldn't be allowed to state how they feel. But what I'm saying is that understand that the things that you say can have consequences, especially when you're sitting here saying things that are not true, right? When you're sitting here spreading misinformation, when you're trying to basically say things to spin a certain narrative. Because if something is true, I'm going to stand next to it all day. I can't be mad if something is true. The truth is the truth, no matter what you feel about it, right? So you can't get mad at that. But what I've just noticed with some of these people, they're not always being truthful. And that's the part that's annoying. When you're just trying to simplify it to, well, black pilots are DEI, as if just any Yahoo with black skin can just go apply to be a pilot. As if I, as a black woman, can just be like, hey, I want to be a pilot tomorrow. You know how hard it is to even drive a bus, and that's on the ground, let alone taking a huge plane into the sky? But the way they simplify it is like anybody can just come up and be a FAA controller. That's just not how it works. So I get tired of people saying DEI and using that as a way to demean black people. Like I said, I have a black pilot in my family. One of my good friends was in the Air Force. She is a black pilot. And I know how hard she worked to get into that position. So for somebody to just dismiss that as her being DEI, that's insane. And it's offensive. So that's all I'm saying. You can have your opinions. You can spew whatever you want to spew. But I just noticed that some of these people, they lie because at the end of the day, it's about the check. When you have to play mental gymnastics, the reason why I stopped fucking with Officer Tatum and why he's just a straight coon to me is I remember when the Alabama boat brawl happened. And this man played mental gymnastics to blame black people for that. When you had white folks coming out and saying that the black folks were not in the wrong, and he still went out his way to play mental gymnastics to blame black people. Because again, he didn't want to lose his white base. That's who cuts his checks. The other day, he was interviewing Benjamin Netanyahu. And a lot of his own conservative people were dragging his ass on Twitter. He was deleting comments and some more shit. I didn't watch the interview. I saw other people on YouTube talking about it. But again, he has the right to sit up on his YouTube channel and say what he wants to say. And I have the right to not watch, and I don't. I haven't watched him since the Alabama boat brawl. I'm like, this dude is a fucking clown. See, when you have to go out your way to constantly demonize a group in order for you to get a bag, that says a lot. If that's how I have to make my money, I can't sleep at night. If I had to sit here and go in day after day on gays and on trans people, on black people, on just whoever to get a bag, I don't want it. And see, Candace Owens did that for a majority of her career. And then she found out that at the end of the day, you're black. And when we're ready to get rid of your DEI ass, we will. And the Daily Wire booted her. And I mean, she has her own show and she's still doing her thing on her YouTube channel. But they got rid of her so fast before her head could even spin. They had to remind her, you can talk about niggas all day. Talk about your own all day, every day. You can talk about the trannies and the gays and all that stuff. But what you're not going to do is ever question Israel. And the second she started doing that, they got rid of her ass. And once she realized and saw the big picture, then she wanted to come back and, you know, wanted to start talking about, you know, black issues and going on the Joe Budden podcast and meeting up with Charlemagne. And, you know, now that the white folks turned their backs on her, then she wanted to go on the hip hop platforms, the same platforms that she sneered at and looked down on when she was with the Daily Wire and Turning Point USA. So, yeah. You know, again, she did what she had to do. I'm not, you know, she spoke her truth. I'm not knocking her for it. But like I said earlier, your words and the things that you say can have consequences. So she chose to stand on business and call out, you know, Israel and all that stuff. I'm not saying I disagree with anything she said. All I'm saying is that her words had consequences. And it's very interesting that her consequences only came once she hit on that particular subject. There were no consequences when she was dissing her own. That's why Matt Walsh sits on the Daily Wire and sits all day and talks about trans people and gays and everything else. But he tiptoes on everything else because he knows where his bread and butter lies. And that's all I'm saying about these people. I just feel like they're professional rage baiters and they do this for a bag. And people have become multimillionaires doing this. This is not to excuse anything. Like I said at the beginning of the stream, the whole situation is horrible, unwarranted. People have the right to have whatever stance they want to have without being shot on the street in front of millions, of, you know, hundreds of people. The video is disgusting. But I also don't like the parasocial relationships. How 24 hours ago, everybody was ready to kill the left and, you know, demonize left-wing people. They were saying that, you know, was possibly a black man who did it, a trans, you know, everybody who they deemed at the bottom of the barrel was who supposedly did this hit. And now that the person who actually did it doesn't fit that narrative, now there's new conspiracies. Now he was Antifa. He was radicalized at college. Now we need to pray for him. But if it was a trans shooter who did this, there'd be no thoughts and prayers. And there shouldn't be. You took somebody's life. Why would I pray for a murderer? Are you insane? But it's very interesting how like they'll switch up just whatever narrative. And I think the divisiveness that's going on in America, it's sick. It's sick. I don't find it funny. I find it very disturbing. I find it very disturbing that people can sit and laugh and joke about somebody being killed. And I also find it very disturbing the parasocial relationships, like that woman screaming like a madman and blaming the left as if she had proof. So let's follow up with her before I go, because I said I was only going to be on here about an hour. Oh my God, I've been on here for an hour and a half. I need to go lay down. But before I go, let me go ahead and play that lady. I wish I could play the video of him going off on Matt Walsh. It was a good video. But I don't want to play Nick Fuentes. But let me go ahead and play that lady, though. The one that was going off. Let me see if I can find her page again. Okay. So now that we know that the shooter is a regular, white Trump t-shirt wearing white boy, let's see what her stance is today. Okay.
They're going to make it seem like it was this one guy, right? Just this one deranged lunatic. But I don't think it was. And I don't think that the shooter in Butler, Pennsylvania was just one guy either. I think it's MK Ultra. I think it's mind control. I think it's a psyop. So it's going to look like it was just one guy.
Okay, so now it's MK Ultra, it's a psyop, it's not one guy. But yesterday when you had no proof as to who it was, ma'am, was this you yesterday? When you assumed that it was one person?
You motherfucking animals! You liberal, progressive, deranged fucking animals! You are so hateful in your hearts to go out and shoot a young man who's never hurted anyone.
Miss Hurted, wasn't that you 24 hours ago? Objection. How come why didn't you give the MK Ultra grace yesterday to the crazy perverted liberals? Now it's MK Ultra. Girl, if you don't sit your ass down, I know she didn't. Let's finish.
They're going to make it seem like it was this one guy, right? Just this one deranged lunatic. But I don't think it was. And I don't think that the shooter in Butler, Pennsylvania was just one guy either. I think it's MK Ultra. I think it's mind control. I think it's a psyop. So it's going to look like it was just one guy. But you better believe there's a whole ass machine behind that working to make shit like this happen. Because, Charlie Kirk was a very young guy. He was college age when he started going to college campuses and talking to fellow constituents his own age about politics and ideology. Completely and utterly open to all ideas and sharing of ideas. Never violent. But he was devastating to the Democratic Party. His voice altered and changed a lot of people's minds. And they didn't like that. So you can call me crazy. You can call me a tin hat conspiracy theorist. I don't give a shit what you call me. But you won't change my mind. They're going to make it seem like it was.
Okay, so now she has here. Let's just watch here.
You.
Okay, now let me see here.
Tyler Robinson, the white guy from Utah that executed Charlie Kirk. Now the liberals they're coming out wild. What do you feel about a white guy? I mean, if you saw my comment section, there's not enough time in the day. But I'm sure that they're not hearing on their news sources that Tyler Robinson, although a conservative family, had been radicalized in recent years with a woke liberal ideology.
Okay, so now he's radicalized a woke liberal ideology. Okay, sis.
To his immediate family and close friends in testimony to law enforcement. In fact, just mere days before the incident, he was having dinner with family and discussing how much he disliked and hated Charlie Kirk. I think he wrote a few things on bullets, too, that were indicative of a liberal woke ideology. So my initial instincts when I watched the execution of Charlie Kirk in real time was dead on. Tyler Robinson.
This lady's batshit crazy. Let's watch the last video.
Tyler Robinson, the man in custody for executing Charlie Kirk. Yes, he was a white guy. And the liberals are coming out in full force as if race ever had anything to do with my outrage when I witnessed the execution of an innocent man before my eyes. because race never even entered the equation. But yes, he came from a conservative family. But according to close family and friends in statements to law enforcement, he had been radicalized with a woke, liberal, progressive ideology in recent years and was very angry and very, very hateful. And
Objection. You are so full of shit. That is not the same energy she had yesterday.
just days before the execution, he had dinner with his family and talked about his hatred for Charlie Kirk. So, my initial instincts when I saw that video.
This lady's insane. Get her ass off my screen. Okay, so that is the crazy lady. So like I said, you see how now they're all switching their stance now that this person didn't fit the narrative. I'm telling you, if this was a damn black trans shooter, oh my God, they would have they probably would have strung him up at the Capitol. Okay? But because this person does not fit the narrative, now there's MK Ultra. Now it's Antifa. Now it's leftist ideology. Where if they're saying that he's a Groker, is that the Nick Fuentes group? You know that those people are very extreme. They're very far from left. If he's part of Nick Fuentes' crew, they're probably the most extreme right-wingers that can be. So this lady is she's insane. I think this whole situation with Charlie Kirk goes deeper. I don't think it's like a conspiracy as far as, what she's saying, but I think it goes deeper. I think it definitely goes deeper. This whole situation, the fact that, I understand that he was very close with the president. He's the one who got J.D. Vance to become vice president. He talked to Trump, him and Trump Jr. They're the ones who got J.D. Vance into his position. But when I seen him, when I seen them carrying his body back on government airplane, I thought that was very interesting because I'm like, was he in the military? Was he part of government? Like, I didn't know we did that now for podcasters. And, he had a big base, but I didn't, I didn't know that. I thought that was for people who served and who were part of government. I didn't know that the it's just a lot of strange things that are happening with this whole situation. It's just very strange. I don't know. Let me read these super chats here, and then I'm going to go ahead and go lay down. I thank all y'all for coming today. This was just like an impromptu live because I haven't gone live in almost 3 weeks. So thank y'all for coming today. Yeah, the world is a stage. I mean, at this point, I don't know what to believe sometimes. The world is definitely a stage. You couldn't have told me that was going to happen to him. And matter of fact, he's supposed to be coming to Minnesota, my son said. He's supposed to be coming to Minnesota next week. Minnesota was the next tour for him. So it's sad. Let's see here. Let me go to the top. Jamaican Queen Lifestyle Senpai says, we missed you and love you, T. Let's give her a great big welcome back. God answers prayers. Glad you're getting better, sis. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, sis. Thank you for the super chat. Neo Spice sent $9.99. Thank you, Neo. Davy sent $4.99, says, miss you, T. Thank you so much. Miss y'all too. I swear it's been a long few weeks. Careful Calypso says, hey T, we missed you. Sending love from Wisconsin. Hope you are better soon. Thank you so much, sis. I appreciate you. Hey Cheney says, hey T, get better soon. Love you too. Taisha Julie sent $9.99, says, hey T, I'm in the Discord. Is there an alternate payment option besides PayPal? I recently got hacked. Please send us an email. Just send us an email. But thank you. Say Carrie says, good seeing you, T. Hope you continue to feel better. Thank you so much. Felicia Powell, Sim499 says, continue to heal and feel better. We miss you, but care about your health more. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Blair said, it's good to see you on live. Take care of yourself. Thank you. It's just Kay said, God bless. We missed you. I missed y'all too. So it's been a long few weeks. Let's see here. Candy Ling sent 1999 says, Charlie and Osama are both embodiments of disharmony. Both spreaded propaganda and had influence over people without having to lift a finger. Osama had people willing to fly planes into buildings. Charlie had people rioting and dividing. Yeah, and I noticed in Utah, there was a big brawl. They had jumped some man. Some man came to the vigil yesterday and was like, F Charlie Kirk, and then he got jumped. So it was a lot going on in Utah yesterday. Let's see here. Candy Link says, what I'm trying to say is that both had political viewpoints, which are allowed, but had followers who influenced heavily. Those type of people are scary. Yeah, definitely. Memes Are Life says, I'm glad to see you, T. I'm praying for a speedy recovery from Ireland, from a fellow Nigerian sister. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, sis. For the Sake of Haiti says, the media didn't mention the school shooting the same day as Charlie, a 22-year-old MAGA. Yeah, I noticed that too. People were not talking about the school shooting at all, which is unfortunate because, again, these school shootings just seem to keep happening. And at this point, it seems like everybody's just getting desensitized to it, which is scary. Pink Butterfly sent a sticker, says, thanks for being you. Thank you so much, sis. Crystal Washington says, political views, a term used to desensitize us to the fact that people's lives are at stake, but diplomatically, no more dignified. Okay, thank you. Hill Black TV says, where are these people when the Dems were at it? Thank you so much for the $49.99. And that's what I'm saying. I feel like all of this is on both sides, you know, because again, when everything happened in June in Minnesota, I didn't see a lot of people on the right showing sympathy. I saw a lot of jokes, you know, a lot of memes on Twitter. So I think both sides have been very ugly in the case of like how they respond to political violence. So thank you for the super chat. Kita sent $100, says, I love you, T. Praying for you always. You were missed. Thank you so much, Kita. I appreciate you, sis. Thank you for the super chat. Natty Loves sent $4.99, says, can't stay long, but baby, we missed you. I wish you well. Praying for my Leo sister / auntie. Charlie was terrible. F him. Thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate you, sis. Anastasia sent 5, says, hey, T, just finished training at my new job. Hope you are well. Missed you much. Thank you so much. Divine says, freedom of speech, not freedom of consequences. I agree. Kita Ram sent $9.99, says, hey, T, I'm glad to see you are well. I agree with you. I recently caught someone I knew liking negative things about Black people, and it told me all I needed to know about that person who is non-Black. Oh, yeah. The anonymity of the internet, you know. Unfortunately. Let's see here. Novocaine sent 5, says Genesis 1:3, chapter 24, words hold power. Charlie Kirk said he had no empathy for gun victims, and it's worth having victims to protect the Second Amendment. He spoke on his own fate. Yeah, a lot of the things that he said, you know, people cannot get mad when people are pointing that out, because he did say a lot of crazy stuff. And for him to be taken out, you know, by gun violence, it's just the irony. It's just crazy. But thank you for the super chat. CB3, Sim 499 says, notice Trump made a statement about Charlie Kirk, but not the school shooting that happened in the same county as Columbine. Wow. I didn't know that happened in the same county as Columbine. Thank you for that. Yeah, nothing was spoken about the school at all. Krabby Lion says, I think it's an inside job because of his views on Israel. Yeah, a lot of people are saying that. Special Chocolate said, I missed you. I didn't get the notification. Thank you for the super chat. Amanda Nora sent $49.99. Says, I love you. Keeping you lifted, Camry. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you for the super chat, sis. Meredith Springs sent $9.99. Says, everyone needs to get offline and go touch grass and move on with their day. Yeah. People definitely need to get out those echo chambers. Cindy says he's allegedly a Fuentes supporter, according to the Utah officials. I believe it. That's how I know the fact that that lady, the crazy one that was screaming, is trying to say that the boy was like under left woke ideology is so stupid, because if you know anything about Nick Fuentes, he is far from left. He is so radical, right? So there's no way that that boy could be anything towards the left, because if he followed Nick Fuentes, he's even more extreme than Charlie Kirk. Let's see. Lovely Libra says, sent $19.99, says, feel better, T. I'm sending you prayers and positivity and healing energy towards you. The Charlie Kirk situation is traumatizing. We humans are not meant to be seeing such graphic violence. I fear humans are getting numb. I definitely agree. And it's like, after a while on Twitter, you couldn't even scroll like without seeing it, like every other video, different angles, far away angles, close up. And for y'all who don't know, because a lot of people feel like he was shot in the chest. He had on body armor, if y'all don't know. If you look, I kind of look close. If you look at his shirt, he had body armor on. And I believe that the body armor he had on, it was not the best. What happened is the boy was aiming for his heart. That's, a lot of people think that the kill shot is like a headshot. That's for like television and movies. If you're trying to get a clean shot, you aim for the midsection, because that's the biggest section in the heart. He was aiming for his heart. It hit because he had on a vest, body armor. It bounced, it ricocheted off of that, and that is, from it ricocheting off of his heart, that is how the bullet went up and went through his neck. So to take him out, he was aiming for the heart. That was a kill shot. The boy is a damn good shot, but if you go back and you see his videos and pictures from when he was young, he's been around guns since he was a shorty. Since he was like really, really young. So, yeah, it ricocheted. Yeah, I need to go lay down. Y'all are right. I'm about to leave. Let me read these last two super chats and I'm out of here. Fatima Berry says, T, can you do a video on the shooting that happened in Chicago concerning Romika Meeks? Yes, I'm going to do a video on that because I have a lot to say about that. Very tragic, but I do have a lot to say about that. So thank you for the super chat. Sunflower Girl says, not Israel. He had to start questioning or lose his life. Yeah. It's a lot going on, but yeah, I've been on here for 1 hour and 46 minutes. I'm about to go lay down. I'm really tired. So I'm going to get up out of here. Somebody sent one more super chat. Cheesecake sent $4.99, says, Charlie didn't die for his opinions. He started asking the right questions about Epstein files. And now we're too busy debating about his character. Yeah, I definitely think it was a lot deeper, and I talked about it in the stream, so definitely go back and watch. But you guys, I got to get up out of here. I got to go lay down. But thank you guys so much for just coming to my stream. I know it's kind of impromptu and everything, but I appreciate y'all. I love you guys, and I will talk to you guys later. Everybody have a really good weekend.